Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to our powers. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rucha HaKodash. And give it up honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that have told us this truth, that are constantly ruling well through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Hey, peace, mercy, and blessings to the beloved Akim that are out there pushing this word wholeheartedly in truth and in sincerity, that are not wavering to the left nor to the right, but constantly staying on that straight and narrow, fighting for your crowns in these last days that we are truly living in. Even shalom to the few sisters, the Aquabs to the out there, and even shalom to the Israelite foreigners, those that may look like the other nations, but their seed line is going back into our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm the brother Iraq coming back, waiting to the lesson to the Lord, willing, edifying, feed the lambs of the Lord. I do pray that this lesson is edifying to the Lord's elect. All right, and we're coming into some very, very harsh times. All right, and the signs are being shown that there shall be no peace. All right, but a time of trouble. All right, and as the scripture describes, it's going to be the time of Jacob's trouble, speaking about our people, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians. All right, and right now, things are still moving. And what I mean by that is that, there's commerce, people are still traveling, people are still able to work, all right, go to the grocery store, the gym, all right, people are still able to, enjoy certain things in life, all right, you're able to smile, all right, but we're coming into a time where, all right, that smile is getting ready to change, all right. Let's start with Isaiah chapter 24 and 11. It says, there is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone. All right. And that's what the scriptures mean. All right. That there's going to be a time of just nothing but chaos and hell and murderous intent. All right. It's going to be fearful sights that we're getting ready to see. And it's not going to be really nothing to smile about. All right. Real soon. Okay. Let's get the word joy. All right. The Hebrew word is Shamcha, all right, Shamcha, all right, which means joy, mirth, gladness, joy, gaiety, pleasures, glad results, happy issues, all right. So there's not going to be a time of happiness out here, okay. All right, it's going to be so bad that you're not going to have anything to smile about or anything to be happy about, okay. All right, and just throwing it out there that just to practice more of smiling less. All right, as the scriptures say, let's get this also in the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 21 verse 20. It says, a fool lifted up his voice with laughter, but a wise man does scarcely smile a little. All right, and there ain't gonna be anything to smile about real soon. All right, while things are still kind of going along, that's all getting ready to change. Okay, and I got a couple of videos that I want to play. All right, but before I get to them, let me grab one more precept. All right, out of the book of Isaiah chapter 8 verse 22. It says, and they shall look on the earth and behold trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. All right, so it's getting ready to be very troubled and dark times that's getting ready to be out here. All right, and now I want to play this video from the apostles, all right, which is a stern warning to not be in the spirit of mirth. All right, Baba Kishar, bear with me for a second.
And welcome to another installment of Elders of GMS, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem. Today's topic is going to be entitled, for now our salvation is nearer than when we believed. And I want you to read the scripture that goes with that. This is the book of Romans 13 and 11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put ye on the Lord Yahushua, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. Well, now go back to that part of chambering and wantonness, and let's pull out some of them key words. That means clubbing, man. We're almost at the end of this thing, man. We ain't in the time of going out there clubbing, going out on adventurous dates to another land with your woman, We ain't into that shit, man. That's right. Back in the day, like Ezekiel, he said he wanted to go to the Poconos. We ain't in time to go to the Poconos with your woman, man. Yeah. I gotta rejuvenate myself. Me and my girl, we going to the Poconos over the weekend, man. Motherfucker, you supposed to be out in the camp, Richard Pryor said, don't lighten up, tighten up, man. Now it's time to tighten up, man. Now it's time to be on fire, man. And I see there's a spirit out there of this disenchantment, this ho-hum spirit, just going by the motion spirit. We ain't in that time, man. And the ones of you that's in that spirit of that ho-hum, go with the motions, go with the flow, do just enough, that means that you don't believe that the Lord is coming back. And that proves that you're not watching the news, and you're not watching the things that are happening, and to you it seems like the Lord ain't never coming back, man. So you got this ho-hum spirit like we gonna be here for another 30 years, man. I'm here to tell you, I ain't looking to be here no motherfucking 30 years, man. I don't look to be in my fucking 80s, having GMS elders, to elderly GMS. Yeah. Instead of elders, we'll really be elders. Yeah. Standing on canes. We'll be on canes and whatnot. Look, I don't look. Well, if the Most High deems it that way, we'll deal with it, man. But I ain't looking that far down the road, man. I ain't looking that far down the goddamn pike. Okay, I'm looking to get the fuck out of here, man. And you see the prophecies popping off every day, but you guys don't look at the news and see what's going on around the world, man. You have some fucking 6 o'clock news and shit for the goddamn weather. You ain't looking at international news. You ain't dealing with geopolitics. You ain't dealing with how the money works. America's getting ready to collapse on the financial level, man. Yeah, martial law is. You got martial law is getting ready to kick off. Now you know why martial law is going to kick off. All right, it's because that money system is getting ready to drop, man. Yeah. Now I don't know if you guys know. I doubt if.
All right. Now, like you heard the beloved apostle say, all right, not to be in that ho-hum spirit. All right, because things are happening. All right, you got Trump, which is doing his thing. All right, he's moving the troops, his military around through Babylon as we speak. All right, this financial system is getting ready to change. All right, and that's what they've been pushing. All right, we're living into some critical times. All right, and to be more serious-minded than ever, that's how we should all be. All right, because shit getting ready to pop out here. All right. This is Amos chapter 5, verse 17. It says, and in all vineyards shall be welling, for I will pass through thee, saith the Lord. See, so the reason why there's going to be trouble, darkness, evil, is because Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is getting ready to make these things happen. All right. There's not going to be no peace nor safety except for those that sincerely turn to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai now. All right, that, change from your wicked heart and fully repent. All right, to the Heavenly Father and His Son. All right, those are the ones that's going to be allotted to be saved through the chaos. All right, the scriptures do say that Jacob shall be saved out of it, but that's not all Israel. That's only the Lord's elect that's going to be saved out of these troubling times. Now, most people desire the day of the Lord, like the Christians. They desire to see what they believe is the Messiah. All right, but they don't understand the prophecies that before Yahushua comes, all right, there's going to be what? Perilous times. Okay, this is Amos 5:18. It says, woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. All right, because before the Lord comes, before he comes to save, all right, there's going to be tribulation. Bear with me, Akim, for a second. Let me grab another video.
Donald Trump is preparing to declare martial law. This is the reason he's sending troops into Portland, Los Angeles, Chicago, Memphis, Baltimore, etc. He will continue doing this. Once he has these troops in place, he can declare martial law and freeze each one of these cities. This is how he's going to take control of all the places that voted against him. This is how he will control the midterms and possibly eliminate all elections in the future.
All right, like we've been saying, that Donald Trump, which is Nero, coming back, he is that cruel Lord. So there's getting ready to be a great persecution upon the believers. All right, let's grab that real fast in the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse, I want to say 17. It says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman, right, which this dragon is represented as the Roman Empire. But the Roman Empire that fell, okay, and then later on became the Byzantine Empire. Jake began to start ruling, all right, but then that later on fell, and eventually them Edomites came out of those caves, okay, and they start coming back into power during the Renaissance, all right, and now they have, you know, full control pretty much of the world right now, all right, and they're at a point where they're advanced, and this old way of, you know, buying and selling is all getting ready to change because they want total control. So this is what we're dealing with, is the revival of the Roman Empire, all right, the last kingdom that was going to rule over the earth. All right, these Edomites are back ruling, and they're getting ready to come down with great wrath, okay, as the scriptures say. All right, so the woman is represented as us. We're the woman, all right, that desperately needs to be saved from this man, okay, when he tries to enforce his MOTB upon us. All right, we're coming into some times where smiling is getting ready to change. All right, there's not going to be nothing pretty or pleasant out here. Let's keep reading. It says, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandment to the Most High and have the testimony of Yahushua Mashiach. All right, and the scriptures say that what? Knowledge and wisdom should be the stability of our time. All right, and this is why we push that, you know, for brothers to be more in the spirit of mourning than to be in the house of mirth, feasting, enjoying life. You know, you're an Israelite, but you're living it up, partying. Okay, we got to change from that mindset. All right, because the world, so to speak, is getting ready to come crashing down. All right, Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 2. It says, it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting. For that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. All right, resilient, stronger, okay, able to bear the harsh reality. Most people are not going to be able to bear the harsh reality. They're going to still think that they got rights, okay? When Trump is throwing out your so-called rights right in front of you. It says the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. Let's go back to the video.
I mentioned this back in April when Liz Cheney came out and said that he was about to declare martial law, and I got thousands and thousands of comments of people saying, oh, you're a nut job, you're crazy, Liz Cheney is crazy, this isn't going to happen. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. I have known this clown for 30 years. And if you've never met this guy, you have no idea what he's capable of. Believe me, this is the most dangerous man right now because we gave him all this power in the world. Please prepare yourself and your family. This is going to end badly.
All right, let's check this one out as well.
But the world is currently entering the greatest financial transition in the history of mankind. It's not just America. Over 130 countries, representing 98% of the GDP, global GDP, are currently developing or testing or getting ready to implement digital currencies. China has already launched its digital yuan. Europe is preparing for the digital euro. And even the United States is currently exploring and moving to the digital dollar. And it's not just governments. The largest financial institutions, BlackRock, Fidelity, HSBC, and Standard Chartered, they're quietly preparing. They're on the brink of transferring trillions of dollars down into the digital currency assets and cryptocurrency. So what happened in 1913 is the bankers took control of monetary policy. What they're trying to do now is take control of fiscal policy. Once they get control of fiscal policy, it's going to be much harder to reverse it.
Can you, I'm going to ask a series of really dumb questions.
Okay.
I hope you'll indulge me. What's the difference?
Taxation without representation.
But between fiscal and monetary policies?
Okay, monetary policy is I control the process by which currency is issued, including through credit. So I generally govern and control credit issuance.
Yes.
And from that, the currency, the creation and management of the currency. Fiscal policy is when I control the taxes and the borrowing of the U.S. government. Now, because the central bank basically operates the borrowing, it's the borrowing shared. But this comes down as this is the Boston Tea Party moment. Can they tax without representation? So I'll give you a little story. During the Biden administration, Biden nominated somebody for control of currency who was ultimately not approved. The Republicans in the Senate killed the nomination. Before she was nominated, 3 weeks before, she wrote an article in the Vanderbilt Law Review that said the great thing about central bank digital currency, in other words, an all digital currency system, is you have the perfect tool to deal with inflation. If inflation gets out of hand, you just freeze everybody's bank accounts.
Yep. So you heard, just freeze everybody's bank account. And this is what they're doing to, I want to say, Vietnam. All right. 86 million people got their bank accounts frozen. All right. So let's get another precept, right? Because the scriptures say when they shall say peace and safety, you have to prepare your mind for that. Okay. That there's not going to be no safety out here. All right, let's grab that in the book of Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 1, it says, "But of the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that the day should overtake you as a thief." All right, because why? We're watching. All right, the scriptures tell us, watch as well as pray. Okay, and for us to not faint, right, in the days of adversity. Okay, all right, because the times of adversity are coming. All right, it says, "Ye are the children of the light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of darkness. Therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober." All right, being sober, attentive, 360-degree views, watching all things. All right, being serious. All right, solemn. Okay, all right, because shit getting ready to happen. Donald Trump is setting up the siege. All right, and this is what I looked up earlier. All right, it's what I looked up earlier because it says right here, it says the winter has a symbol of hardship. Winter represents a season of spiritual barrenness, emotional difficulty, and personal trials, right? To have to flee, a metaphor for enduring a great trial of or persecution during a personal winter, would be doubly hard. Now, the reason why I bring that out, because there's a point in the scriptures that tell you that, Yahweh Shai prophesied that they were going to come upon Israel, all right, during the winter times. Okay. All right. Which, let me see. He warned us to get out. All right. And our way of getting out is by turning to the Lord. All right. Repenting to Yahweh by Shema Shai. All right. Because things is getting ready to happen out here. And the Lord is the one that's going to be able to get us through these, troubling days. Let me see. There's something I wanted to read. I know I had it somewhere. Oh, that's not it. All right, here we go. This is what I was looking for. It says right here, 70 AD, he warned his followers that when they see the signs he described, the abomination of desolations, the army surrounding Jerusalem, which is already passed, but, things that happened before, all right, are going to happen again in these times as well. All right, there's nothing new under the sun. So it says they must flee immediately to the mountains without turning back for any possessions. The flight, this was a literal, urgent escape for the earlier Christians, all right, which were Israelites, community from Jerusalem and Judea. Now, focusing on the winter, right? In this context, winter is Judea presented several dire obstacles. Now, this is what you have to think about during the cold seasons. It says the cold and rain, exposure to the elements without proper shelter could lead to sickness and death, especially for the vulnerable, young children, and elderly. The flooded rivers, the rainy seasons would cause widest seasonal rivers to swell, making them impossible to cross and cutting off escape routes. Shorter days, less daylight for traveling and hiding from pursuing Roman soldiers or hostile forces. It says poor road conditions. Muddy, impassable roads would slow down a fleeing family tremendously. All right, so, Yahweh Shai was warning, all right, Israel that these type of times were going to come. All right, let's just read that real fast, okay? Something that just to think about. Pray not. All right, because I also typed in, what would be a good time for militaries to besiege a place, and it mentioned something about the spring going into the fall, but it also mentioned the winter time as well. All right, saying that the winter time would be for people that are weak, more easier for them, the army, to take them down. All right, even though it will provide challenges for the other military, which would be a gamble. But in these type of times that we are in, Esau has all type of technology to keep his troops warm and give them what they need to just come down with full force. So that's not even going to be an issue. All right. And this is urban warfare. So we're in some different times than the ancient Roman times. All right. So that just show you how bad it's just going to be. Okay. So it says, let me see. I wanted to get, what is it? Here it is. Matthew 24 and 20. It says, but pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. All right. So, just going back to the point that, Hey, things could happen in the wintertime. There's a lot of sickness. People are getting sick. All right. So people are weak, vulnerable. All right. So Esau could take advantage. All right. And most people are not up on their health. So that'd be a good time to just totally just bring down wrath on people when they need westernized medicine to hold them over until the next season comes in, when it starts getting, brighter and, warmer outside. All right. So, remember, Esau's a cunning, crafty man. Okay. He's a hunter. All right. Let's not forget that. So let me play this other video because it brings up scenarios of how they want to cut people off from their bank accounts, which will cause anarchy. All right. People realizing going days without having no access to their money and they need food is going to start panics, riots, and people will hit these stores. So let's check this out.
Nice. Imagine waking up one morning to the news that the banks are closed. You grab your phone to check your balance and the app won't load. The ATM down the street has a sign taped to it, out of service. Shops are open, but no one wants your debit card. Gas stations demand cash only. Rent is due, but the landlord won't take a transfer. At first, you assume it's a glitch, some temporary outage, but then you notice the mood in the streets. People are lining up outside shuttered bank branches. Supermarkets are full of customers with carts stacked high, paying with crumpled bills because plastic is useless. The television blares updates. The financial system is under emergency review. And suddenly, the thought hits you like ice water. Your money isn't where you thought it was. It's not in your account, ready to be withdrawn. It was always just numbers on a screen. And the screen has gone dark. It sounds like the setup for a dystopian novel, but it's not. It has happened before, and not in some far-off, unstable nation you never think about. It has happened in countries that thought themselves modern, safe, and secure. And when it happens, life doesn't slow down politely. It snaps. The rules of wealth and survival shift overnight. Take Argentina, the year 2001. After years of economic mismanagement, debt, and IMF bailouts, the government was desperate. Banks were bleeding deposits as citizens tried to convert pesos into dollars and move them abroad. So the government slammed the doors shut. They called it the corralito, the little corral. But for ordinary Argentinians, it was a cage. Cash withdrawals were capped at 250 pesos a week. Accounts denominated in dollars were forcibly converted into devalued pesos. In just weeks, savings meant for homes, businesses, or retirement lost half their real value. People banged pots and pans in the streets. Middle-class families that had thought of themselves as safe and stable were suddenly thrown into chaos. That is what happens when banks shut down. Money evaporates, not in some abstract sense, but in the way bread, milk, and rent become unaffordable overnight. And Argentina is not alone. Cyprus, 2013. The European Union forced the government to freeze bank deposits as part of a bailout deal. Ordinary depositors woke up to discover that accounts over 100,000 euros would be raided, literally seized, to rescue failing banks. It wasn't the billionaires who felt it most. It was businesses that suddenly couldn't pay employees, retirees who couldn't access their pensions, parents who couldn't cover tuition for their children. In Lebanon in 2019, years of corruption and fiscal collapse triggered capital controls. Banks limited withdrawals to a few $100s a month, no matter how much was in your account. Savers stormed branches, not with paperwork, but with guns. And in each of these cases, the story was the same. What you thought was your money turned out to be theirs. Even in the United States, the land of this could never happen here, the banks have closed. In 1933, in the depths of the Great Depression, President Franklin Roosevelt declared a nationwide bank holiday. For 4 days, every single bank in the country shut its doors. Citizens couldn't withdraw cash, businesses couldn't pay wages, and uncertainty reigned. It was only after the government inspected and selectively reopened banks that public confidence was slowly rebuilt. But think about it. One of the wealthiest nations on earth had to literally freeze its entire banking system just to prevent collapse. The common thread in all these stories is that banks don't hold your money the way you think they do. They operate on fractional reserves. For every dollar deposited, only a fraction stays in the vault. The rest is loaned out, invested, transformed into debt. When too many people demand cash at the same time, the illusion breaks. And governments, instead of admitting the fragility, often side with the banks. They freeze withdrawals. They devalue deposits. They make you pay for the system's mistakes. Now imagine that happening tomorrow in your own city. What would you do? Would you have cash for a week, for a month? Could you pay your mortgage if the bank itself was the problem? Could you feed your family if the digital numbers vanished? This isn't about paranoia. It's about facing the uncomfortable truth. The financial system is not built to protect you, it's built to protect itself.
And when stress hits, you'll discover that banks are not vaults of security, but fragile machines of confidence. Once that confidence cracks, money and power flow in directions you can't control. That's the nightmare scenario. And as we've seen from Argentina to Cyprus, from Lebanon to the United States itself, it's not hypothetical, it's history. And history has a nasty way of repeating itself. When we peel back the surface of these crises, the pattern becomes painfully clear. Banks don't collapse because of random chance, they collapse because of how they are built. Fractional reserve banking, the core of our financial system, is both its genius and its Achilles heel. In simple terms, banks do not sit on your deposits, waiting for you to pick them up like coats at a check room. They take your money and multiply it. If you deposit $1,000, the bank might keep 50 in reserve and lend the rest out to a business, to a home buyer, to the government itself. That loan in turn becomes someone else's deposit, which can then be lent again. Out of thin air, $1,000 becomes $5,000 or $10,000 in circulating credit. It is a machine that fuels growth. But
So just something just to think about, Akim. I'm going to get out of here by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bashem Abishai, Bashem Rakakadash, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai, Brakata Yahweh, Brakata Yahweh Shai, Lord's willing you edified. Shalom.